Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of the Gauntlet, I want to talk about Ninja Mega Troopers. I had to include this team because it's J.Crew's favorite combination, and I've been the victim of them many times. What really stands out about this team is that no lead is ever safe because they have so many specials that can swing a base at the last minute that you are left with very undesirable options. You can dramatically overpay to avoid the specials, in which case the threat of the special is good enough to hurt you. Or you can risk that they don't have them, which can also hurt you. This is a combination that gets weaker as they burn through their specials, but stronger as the game goes on if they do not play them, because the possibility of having them becomes more of a certainty. There's not a whole lot to say about this team in Phase 2, because they are all about Phase 3. In fact, some of their turns may be fairly pedestrian, playing a small minion here or there, usually their 2s, and destroying minions with their actions. Eventually, Megabot will and should come out. Anecdotally, this is best represented by one of my favorite moments ever. I was playing Anansi Ghosts, who have no before the base specials, and we were competing on a 4-3-2 base. I was up by about 18 power, and J.Crew famously stated, "I can win this base, but I'm choosing not to. I don't think it's worth it." I thought he was bluffing, but he wasn't. And he was right. It would not have been worth it. But under different circumstances, it could be. And the threat of being able to drop that much power, as I said before, makes you really wonder if you ever have enough power, because losing on a base on your own turn is terrible. Let's do the math. Just how much power can this team add at the last second? Originally, the ninjas had a shinobi for 3 power and hidden ninja for ninja master, who could simultaneously add 5 and remove any number of power. Let's assume he's taking out 5 power, so that is a 13-point swing. But now you have the green trooper, who could add another 3 and doesn't interfere with shinobi. You could add Megabot, who doesn't add any power alone, but gets +1 power for each minion there, and in the current example is 3 power so far. If Megabot moves, you can use Blitzing Sword Attack to remove another 4. You have Lightning Rescue, which could play out in any number of ways. It can result in additional destruction, additional power, an additional minion, moving a minion, replacing minions with better version of themselves, and any number of other directions. What's really crazy is that it is actually possible to play the cards in such an order that you steal the base uncontested if you lead with Blitzing Sword Attack, Hidden Ninja, and Lightning Rescue can come after. It's really hard to do the exact math, but you are looking at over 20 power that can be swung if you use all of your specials, which is rarely a good idea, but if I can force you to overspend on second place at a critical base, that could have devastating effects later. Additionally, without a specific counter, it is near impossible to score a base without them unless there was a terrible draw, since they have 4 minions that can be played for free in Phase 3, and 2 actions that can lead to presence as well. So far, all the specials that have been listed are specials played from the hand, but the Mega Troopers have so much more in their playbook. They have specials that can activate in play as well, which make it more efficient because it means you need less cards from hand. I love Shinobis, but I don't necessarily like playing ninjas because I can get an easy second place, but it's harder to win bases because their minions aren't that good at setting up and keeping pace. But the fact that the Mega Troopers practically bait you into trying to win on your turn overcomes this. Previously, the Mega Troopers had a similar problem. Great at winning bases, but not breaking them. When you want your opponent to do the breaking, so that you can steal it on their turn, this problem goes away. And consider what they bring to the table in the first half of Phase 3. Beta 6s can all increase in power. A small amount, but every bit counts, particularly if you move Megabot over. The yellow trooper can pull a minion over, who adds not only printed power, but potentially any other power gained from specials. The blue trooper can add a blanket 2 power. Each power added from minions already in play allows you to save cards in hand. Cards in play can be predictable, but there is uncertainty about what is in your hand, so the more cards in hand that you do not use, the longer the threat remains, and that is why this team is so brutal. Because of the sheer number of special abilities, leaving Black Trooper on a separate base to break that as well is completely viable, as he can soak up power quickly and allow you to unexpectedly force a second base to break, also on someone else's turn. I would point out that Ninja Acolyte's terrible non-talent wording can also trigger Black Trooper, but this is not how I would personally use him. But you could, and I have seen it actually make a difference. If you are hoarding cards and winning bases on an opposing turn, what are you doing on yours? Adding small amounts of power and stalling. Destruction can be really strong, but it also prevents you from breaking bases on your turn. Again, this team wants bases broken on opposing turns, so that problem gets removed. If a player overspends, let them. It means they have less bursts, which means you can steal every other base. Sometimes you need to steal first. Sometimes you need an easy second place so you can steal first later. You need to know what is appropriate for each scoring base. There are other interesting things you can do, such as using Disguise with Lightning Rescue to avoid overpaying for second or first, but that just highlights how strong Lightning Rescue is. You can play any minion and any action as a base is scoring, with very interesting options. What is particularly brutal about this team is just how much it counters. It can block Idaho Smith and grab second place, or even first, not that I necessarily would. It can take out singularly powerful minions. It can jump on for second place against swarm factions. It can move a minion at the last second to get past the Leprechaun or Ice Castle. If I play a Shinobi and you kick him off, I can play a Green Trooper to jump back on. I can play so many specials. You can try to block me with Mole, but I can kill him on my turns and it won't be easy to get him back with that team. This makes Eliza extremely valuable because it means you can get one. She is harder to destroy because of her higher power, and the superheroes can recur her easily. She cannot block in-play specials, but you can account for those. She can limit someone to one special at most, making cards like Hidden Ninja and Lightning Rescue useless, because they themselves consume the one card quota. And you can protect her with Awesome Guy. While a Shinobi may be able to slip through, the princesses can kick him off with Someday My Prince Will Come, and that Shinobi will remain stranded. Because of Eliza, they could not play another. The superhero princesses aren't necessarily a solo-based combination anyway, but they could create one in this instance. Another way to counter a faction that excels at breaking bases is to avoid breaking bases at all. This combination really struggles against star-roaming aliens. They can block destruction and actually make destruction a favor. They can farm VP, which this team cannot do anything about. They can terraform into ninja bases. Just be careful, as Winter Squash can actually work to the Shinobi and Green Trooper advantage. But the rest of the actions go down in value. It could work out, but it's probably best to avoid Winter Squash and just use one or the other two. If you are forced to break bases, break them by a large margin. Swarm factions can be very strong if they split the power among several minions. If you avoid a singularly large minion, the Hidden Ninja Master is not as potent as it could be. Rather than a Starlight-based strategy or Microbot Alpha, I like the Groupies or Innsmouth, where it's strictly about minion quantity. While this team can destroy up to 3 play-on-base actions, none of the Kaiju play-on-base actions are particularly strong individually, and you can prevent them from being destroyed anyway, which even applies to Kaijuki. You can also use the Dragon anti-swarm tendencies to combat them as well, because temporary power reduction is perfect during Phase 3. One last weakness that the Megatroopers suffer from is a rules casualty that many of us have desperately tried to address, but is currently still undecided. Basically, what happens when you play Blue Trooper with Hidden Ninja? Does Blue Trooper activate? Based on the current rule wording, the answer is no, as you resolve specials in play first, and that part of the phase has passed before Hidden Ninja is played. However, there is anecdotal evidence that at one point this was going to be allowed, but it never made it into an official rulebook. It's been discussed for several expansions since then, and still nothing. So, for the purposes of March Smashness, I am making an executive decision that it will not work, which has nothing to do with my personal feelings on the subject. This could make the combination stronger, but they don't need it, and I have no way of disseminating the rule change to everyone and ensuring that they see it. So it's better to stick with the printed rules, even though I know there's a possibility that it might change. So for all comparable situations, I am ruling for my tournament that after in-hand specials have begun, in-play specials created by in-hand specials will not trigger. When we were discussing this faction, I think Turing Jedi said it best. You have to play where they are going and accept the fact that they are going to have specials. You're not going to get a base by yourself, and you cannot afford to let them win one on their turn. I've seen Turing Jedi try to bleed them out of specials on the first base just to remove the threat early, and I have to say it can be really effective. But the point remains, this team is a threat, and no lead is ever safe. With a lot of teams, I take a great deal of comfort using a strategy knowing that the opponent has no specials. That simply won't be the case with Mega Trooper Ninjas. What do you think of this team? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this team. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.